Visualize passing away due to an illness only to be brought before God. And when you're blessed with an almighty tool that lets you live out your dreams as a farmer, you start to attract dangerous monsters that seek out your power. The anime follows our MC, Hiraka Machio, a 39-year-old man who had fallen ill and passed away due to his terminal illness, only to be brought before God. God says they're willing to give Hiraku a second chance at life. And when God asks if there is anything Hiraku wants in particular, Hiraku says he wants to try farming in his new life. Intrigued by the request, God contacts the god of agriculture to help bless Hiraku's new body. And to top things off, Hiraku is granted the almighty farming tool to make his life easier. Just like that, God sends Hiraku into his new body, waking up in a mysterious forest only to jump with joy seeing as he feels great in his new body. With his dreams of a farmer flashing through his mind, Hiraku scans the surrounding forest, only to question what he should do. Remembering the almighty farming tool he was given, Hiraku magically conjures a hoe only to begin breaking apart the soil beneath him, surprised to see the dirt is quite soft and fluffy. Realizing that he needs to find food and water to survive, Hiraku tries listening for any water stream nearby, but sadly only the rustling of leaves can be heard. When Hiraku begins trekking through the forest, he fails to find any edible plants, suddenly turning as he hears something scurry by him. Seeing as dangerous animals may reside in the forest, Hiraku speeds up his search only to bump into a massive tree where he marks as his home base. Even after searching for a while, Hiraku fails to find any water nearby, choosing to rely on some dowsing rods to help locate any underground water sources. Funnily, the dowsing rods don't work, leading Hiraku to conjure a shovel with his almighty farming tool, realizing that the almighty tool can morph into any basic farming equipment he desires. Interestingly, Hiraku sees that he can dig forever without getting tired, choosing to burrow deep underground until he strikes gold in the form of a water source. Back on the surface, Hiraku says he doesn't feel hungry at all, grateful for whatever blessings God gave him. Seeing as it's still too dangerous to venture into the forest, Hiraku begins clearing up the area around his base with his mighty tool, only to run into a tree that is in his way. Calling for an axe, Hiraku charges up a swing to chip away at the tree, but monstrously a single swing takes down the entire tree. Hiraku is amazed by the power of the almighty farming tool, swiftly conjuring a hatchet to help process the tree, and magically it slices and slides through the tree trunk like butter. Working throughout the day, Hiraku gathers his lumber into a pile, reasoning that he should start building a home, but fears he doesn't have any nails or adhesive to bind the wood together. With the sun beginning to set, Hiraku tries calling for some matches to start a fire, but sadly nothing happens. Racking his brain for an alternative solution, Hiraku conjures a magnifying glass, but sadly the sun has set before he can put it to use. Choosing to carve a hole in the massive tree, Hiraku spends his time carving some utensils with a chisel, only to be mesmerized by the two moons in the night sky. Having stayed up all night to experiment with different wood carvings, Hiraku rehydrates the next day using his underground water source, only to finally start a fire using his magnifying glass. Spending several hours clearing out more of the surrounding scenery, Hiraku says he doesn't feel fatigued whatsoever whilst using the almighty farming tool, but fearing that his exhaustion may catch up to him, Hiraku begins making plans to hunt for something. Right on cue, a ravenous-looking bunny rushes towards Hiraku, and before he knows it, he slays the creature, choosing to roast it over his fire for his first meal in this new world. Although the roasted bunny wasn't the tastiest, Hiraku continues setting up his home base by installing a wooden toilet with a decent filtration system, and with some added walls and a roof over the toilet. Hiraku can finally relieve himself in peace. Getting back to work, Hiraku begins tilling the soil in preparation for his farm. And as he works throughout the day to create 3 soil patches, he realizes that he doesn't have any seeds to grow. A little annoyed, Hiraku stuffs himself with any leftover rabbit only to head to bed. But when he awakens the next day, he is surprised to see several sprouts growing in his soil patches. Wondering if the almighty farming tool helped with this miracle, Hiraka gets fired up to nurture his new plants as he begins creating a ditch and adding some fencing to prevent wild rabbits from invading his patches. Moving forward a few days, Hiraku is seen expanding his farm and finishing up his fencing around his home, only to wonder if the rabbits he's been slaying have been trying to hunt him. Regardless, Hiraku uses his almighty tool to help water his plants, noting how they grow faster with the almighty tool's touch. In the coming days, Hiraku finally finishes creating his first small hut. Hiraku is proud that the entire structure was made out of wood, spending his nights in the hut and away from the monsters that lurk in the forest, only to continue nurturing his farm during the day. Interestingly enough, Hiraku runs into a pair of dogs on a particular day, and seeing as they don't seem to be hostile, Hiraku invites them into his home. Having slain a giant boar, Hiraku spares some of the meat he harvested, only to notice one of the dogs is currently pregnant, suspecting that the canines are looking for a safe place to give birth. Hiraku says he always wanted a pet dog, but out of nowhere the female dog begins to writhe in pain, signaling to Hiraku that she is about to give birth. Quickly taking the dogs to his hut, Hiraku reasons he should fetch the dog some water, and seeing as the female dog is in pain, Hiraku places a fire outside the hut for the dogs, all whilst he spends his night back in the hole in the tree. Hiraku says it's a relief that the giant boar he slayed didn't find the dogs first, and as Hiraku knocks out for the night, he awakens the next day to a pleasant surprise, with the female dog managing to give birth to 4 smaller pups. Hiraku celebrates a successful delivery by feeding the dogs some fatty meat, and as some more time passes, the dogs eventually become fond of living with Hiraku. Hiraku chose to create a separate, bigger home for himself, whilst the dogs were given a small hut. Plus, it seems some of Hiraku's plants are finally sprouting, with his first harvest containing tomatoes. Over time, the dogs would help hunt monsters and guard Hiraku's farm, leading Hiraku to begin naming them, starting with Kuro for the father dog and Yuki for the mother, whilst the children were called Kuro 1, Kuro 2, Kuro 3, and Kuro 4. With even the dogs enjoying the vegetables he grows, Hiraku says he needs to build a storage room and build more furniture and tools to make his life easier, excited to see what is to come in the future. At night, we see a hooded lady asking for a way to cross the nearby mountain, but a townsfolk says it is too dangerous to cross the mountain since she'll need to pass through the forest of death.